So in this video, I want to walk you through setting up your very first Git test project so you can get used to the workflow. This video is for Mac. I will do another one for Windows. Make sure that you have already done the pre-work in the other video, the setup video. You should have installed Git. And if you want to double check that you have done that, if I go to terminal, if I do git -- version, then that is confirmation that you have installed Git. Then, if not, you go through this process. You should also make sure that you have configured it. So you want to set up your username, you want to set up your email. Here's where you can verify if you've done that. If you're on a Mac, you should do these commands. So I've already done all of this, right? Again, you should have already created your SSH key, and you should have already linked it with your GitHub account. If you have not done these steps, then you need to go to the other video and make sure you follow all those steps first. All right, so what we're going to do is our first GitHub practice. This is in that same website, the Odin Project Git Basics, and we're going to create a repository. So this is the best way to make sure that you connect your local repository to your GitHub account. So I'm going to my GitHub account. I'm going to click here. I can click here or here to create a new repository, right? This is on my GitHub account. I'm going to call it first Git, okay? First-Git. All right. I am going to put a README file in it just so you can see that we've actually connected it. There's something in it. That is all I am going to do right now. Just give it a name, leave everything else the same, give it a README file. We create the repository. Once the repository is created on GitHub, we need to connect it to our local machine. So first of all, make sure that you decide where you are going to do all your GitHub stuff. So I have a folder called GitHub repos. Whatever you want to call it, my projects, whatever you want to call it, just make sure you have a folder that you are going to use for this and you know how to navigate to it. But we are going to navigate to it in the terminal, right? So I need to, if I ls, so my folder is, I need to go to my desktop. I need to go to my files, and I need to navigate into this folder, cd to GitHub repos, right? By ls in here, you'll see that I have one that I did already. All right, so I'm in that folder. So let's go back over here to GitHub, click on the code here, make sure you're on this SSH link, and click here to copy that link. Now I'm going back to my terminal again in that folder, and I'm going to do git clone and paste in that link. Now, when I ls now, you see that there is a directory in here called first Git. If I cd into it and I ls, we will see a README file. That is the README file that we set up on GitHub. All right, so now let's go through some workflow. So the other thing that you should have done is installed Visual Studio Code. So we're going to bring that up now. And you should, in Visual Studio Code, make sure that you install the live server extension. All right, so I'm in Visual Studio Code. I want to navigate to that folder. So I'm going to open folder and go navigate to, oops, it's not where I want to go. Open folder in GitHub repos, this first Git. Let's just click on that and open. And you will see there's a README file already there. Okay, again, that came from creating the repository on GitHub. Now, I want you to open the terminal because now we won't need, I don't need this separate terminal window. I'm going to be able to do all my work here in Visual Studio Code with the terminal in here. So let's say I want to start working on my project. I'm going to add a file. Let's add an index.html. So I just clicked here to add a file. Let's do, if I do HTML, click on this, then you get your template for this, for a new HTML file, right? I'm going to give its title, Git test. And let's just put an H1 in here. First Git test. Okay. Now, so we have added a file and made some changes to it. If I come down here to my terminal and notice my terminal is in my first Git project, right? If I ls in here, you see the README and you see now that we've created the index.html. If I do git status, we'll see this red, that's telling me you have some changes that have not been committed in GitHub, right? So let's say we want to just go ahead and commit these. So the first step is we need to stage the files. So we do git add dot. If I do a status now, you'll see it's in green. It says, okay, this file is staged. That means it's ready to go through a commit. And now I do git commit with a message -m added index.html. Right? If I do status now, you see no red, no green. The files are all up to date. But you see here it says your branch is ahead of origin main by one commit. Origin refers to your GitHub repository. So if I want to push this, again, let's just look and see what is here right now before I do the push. So we don't see, we see one commit that's just the very first one. So let's go over here and do git push. The whole command is git push origin main, but those are the defaults. So you can just do git push. All right. And over here, if I refresh this page, you see it tells me here there are 2 commits. And if I click on them, you see that message that I put in there. That was the message from my commit. And if I want to see the file, I can come in here and I can look at what is in that file. I think I need to go back. Okay. So that is our first commit, right? So let's go make some changes because again, the process of how you do this is, it's like, you know, kind of doing an autosave when you are working on a document that you don't want to lose. So I'm going to make a style.css file. And I'm going to go over here and link it. And another shortcut is if I type link, go to this one that's CSS, then it gives me that link. I'm going to go over here. Let me put, I always start with margin 0, padding 0, box sizing, border box. All right, let's give a background color to my body. background color, pink. All right, so now we didn't actually look at our page before, so let's do that now using Live Server. If I have my file here, if I right click and go to Open with Live Server, then I can see my page over here, right? And anytime I make a change, and you save, you will automatically see that change. So for example, let me go make a change to here. Let's add in the word my first Git test. You see what right now that's not there. So if I save all, we see that change there, right? Now, if I go down here and I do a Git status, it shows me there's been some changes to index.html, and there's a new file that hasn't been tracked at all. So let's add them. Git add dot. Now we're ready to commit or take the snapshot. Git commit -m added style.css. And as you go on, you're going to want to have more descriptive messages. You know, you're working on a new feature or something, so you'll have more descriptive messages. If I do a status, it says again, I've got something that's not synced up to GitHub. So if I do git push, then if I go over here to GitHub and refresh the page, see right now it says 2, refresh the page, I have 3 commits, right? And we take a look there, there's the most recent copy of this file. So that's the sequence that I want you to get comfortable with. Working here in VS Code with the terminal here, you know, working on your file, saving and seeing the results over here when you save. Live Server will show you that. And then periodically going through the process of adding the files to your staging area. So you do git add dot, then git commit -m, give it a message, and then git push. Those are the commands that you have to get comfortable with. So please go through this process and make sure that you are comfortable with setting up your first GitHub repository.